Okay.
What people need to know that is the best orgasm you will ever have.
Okay.
All right? Because you're out, and it's so wonderful.
The only problem is that it's, a one-time orgasm, I think, right?
Yeah.
But longer than you used to.
Yeah.
It's a long orgasm.
I don't know. He knows.
Yeah.
But so you already had 2 orgasms in your life.
Yeah, the second one made more sense.
Yeah.
So, can I be me even if you don't like it, so that you can be you even if I don't like it? That was the 4th insight.
People say, because the heart is a muscle.
Yes.
It's definitely not the heart. So you need to go one step beyond that. And then we're looking at what's called more like the chakras. And so is it the heart guiding you, or is it the idea that the heart is guiding you? And if we would just change that and say the heart, but not the physical heart, but let's call it the chakra heart, that's the portal to that other essence that you are.
Welcome everybody, my name is Pape, and today I'm here with 2 very special gentlemen, 2 doctors, Dr. Juriaan and Dr. Roy Martina. And Dr. Juriaan, you are an MD, you are an author, and you are a teacher, and you were a general practitioner for 15 years until you stopped doing that in the year 2020. Mm-hmm. You wrote 2 books. One book is Van klacht naar kans in Dutch, and in English you would say From Issue to Opportunity. And your latest book is in Dutch, Jij bent de liefde, and that's very simple, that's You Are Love. Yeah. My other guest is Dr. Roy Martina. I mean, you have become a house guest of this show, I would say. This is your 3rd time here. And you are a former world champion karate. You are an international best-selling author. And you're, by the way, also a kickboxing world champion, right?
I think it's important for everybody to know.
Yeah. So nobody wants to mess with Dr. Roy. And you call yourself these days a quantum mystic.
Correct.
So please enlighten us a little bit. What is a quantum mystic?
Well, when you don't understand anything, it's a mystery. Yeah. So for me, quantum mystic means exploring new science, new areas. There's a lot already we know, but the more you know, the more you discover how much you don't know. And the quantum science, for us, is new. I mean, if you go back in the Ayurvedic medicine, it's been there forever. It's just, I would say, the governing laws of energy that influence the material world. So right now I'm in the phase of discovering, okay, what is this? What's going on? And how can we use science to manifest the life that we want?
Yeah.
So a lot of people have all kinds of ideas, but if you make it scientific, it's not about spirituality in itself, but to use the laws in your advantage to create that what you want. And that's the phase I've been exploring for the last 12 years. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you two have a lot in common. You were both general practitioners. You were a general practitioner for 15 years. Roy, you only did that for 1 year.
Yeah. He woke up a little bit earlier than I did.
Roy doesn't need a lot of time.
No, it's not true in that sense. I believe in a phenomena called divine intervention. So my dream was to become a neurosurgeon. That's what I really wanted. But just before finishing my medical studies, I was in a car accident with what we call out-of-body experience, near-death experience, whatever. And then my life changed. And now, because of the accident, I had like what we call residue symptoms. My hands were trembling. And I didn't want to become a general practitioner. That was not my dream. My dream was to cut people open and fix them. So now all of a sudden, I am stuck in a position I don't want to be in. And I had a physical therapist helping me, and there was no help. And he kept pushing me, you have to do acupuncture, you have to do acupuncture. And then I didn't believe in acupuncture. For me, it was woo-woo, whatever. And I did it only for 2 reasons. One, it was for free. I got some Dutch DNA. And the second reason was that I want to stop the nagging of the physical therapist. I want to prove acupuncture doesn't work on me. So I went and did acupuncture, and within 3 treatments, my symptoms were gone. So a new world opened for me. Wow. And then I switched to that. So it was more, I think, divine intervention.
Yes. For you, Juriaan, you stopped doing your general practicing back in 2020. And we spoke a little bit about this, and you speak about 5 turning points. Can you please share that with us?
Yeah. My journey started around 2012, and there were many problems in my private life, and also in my professional life. It got too busy. And around my private life, that was actually the first insight, because I felt it wasn't good, but could I really make a decision for myself? How about my obligations and the things that I had to do to my children? Could I make this choice? And my wife kept me responsible for her suffering. And my therapist said, well...
That's not your wife right now anymore.
No.
Yeah, just to make
now
sure.
I'm very happy with Simone. Yeah. And my therapist then, he said, well, it's okay if you do not know what to do. And what that is doing to your wife, that's her responsibility. So that was my first insight, that I thought, okay, I'm not responsible for the feelings and the emotions of someone else. The second insight came when I was in my practice and I decided to end the professional relationship with a colleague of mine. And she was a doctor and she worked just like my father did. And I stepped into the practice of my father, and I wanted to turn it to a holistic center. And she could allow me to do this holistic vision, but she couldn't really support me. So at the end...
in what way?
No, she couldn't really support my vision to... how do you say that? To tell it also to the people that she was guiding in our practice. So I ended up that relationship, and I can assure you I felt that one, because no one could understand that I ended a relationship with such a good doctor. And not only the patients couldn't understand it, and also not my assistants, but also my father could not understand that I made this decision. And at that point I realized that I could never meet the requirements of all the other people. I couldn't please anyone, of everybody. So at that moment I saw that at the end of my lifeline, when I stand at the end of my life and I look back, that I wanted to say, well, I have been true and sincere to at least one person in my life, and that should be me. And I didn't want to make decisions anymore out of fear, but much more out of desire. So that was the second insight. And a few years later, when I had some other doctors around me, then came the third turning point, and that was at the moment that we were 50,000 minus on the bank, and I still had to pay the salary of 13 people that worked for me. And at that moment I slipped again in a sort of depression, and Nico, a big mentor for me in that time, he called me and he said, well, it's quite simple, isn't it? Because before you hired these doctors and do the general practitioner work, you had a very good business, you had a very good practice. So handle your shit, he actually said. End up the relationship with these doctors, go do your own general practitioner work again, and you will have a good, all your problems will be solved. So I felt that it wasn't a good decision, but I admire him because how he looks at life and how he guided me. So I said to him, well, I will consider this option. And the next few days I considered it over and over again, this scenario. And each time when I connected it with my body, I felt a really strong and deep no. So actually, I thanked him for the advice that he gave me.
So this is a really important step. You were connecting with your inner GPS, right?
Yes, but I couldn't really believe it, but it was so strong. And I didn't want to make a decision out of fear anymore. Yes. That was the insight I got before, and I wanted to stay true to that insight. And at the same time, I got a session with another mentor, and he asked me this question, and he asked, are you willing to get bankrupt if that's the price you have to pay to be able to do what you are meant to do, or that you are that you can become the person who you are meant to be? And I didn't have to think 1 second about that question, because that was a clear, very clear yes. And then something special happened. Because
so to summarize, you were willing to go bankrupt in order to stay true what you felt inside.
Yeah. I was willing to pay any sacrifice I had to make.
Okay.
And that gave me the real freedom, because I could pay any price if that was the price I had to pay to become who I.
Okay, I think this is really interesting, because I would like to know, where was this very strong conviction, this inner conviction that you had, where was this coming from?
Yeah, and this is the connection, I think, with the last book that you, and also the first book that you have written, that it was not with my head, it was a strong feeling, yet whatever happens, I will survive. And the insights I got earlier from I want to stay true at least one person when I look back on my lifeline, and I don't want to make decisions anymore out of fear, but much more from desire. And I can't please anybody in my life. All that insights gave support to the feeling that I got on that time.
So Juriaan, could you say that instead of listening to the mental chatter, you were listening to an energy, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, it's an energy, a feeling, and of course the chatter is still there, but I think most of the time we have learned to make decisions, and when problems come on our path, that we have to make a decision out of the thought, what would deliver at me, what will be the most successful, or what's the leading to the best outcome, or maybe the best compromise. But I think it's much more valuable when you turn it 180 degrees around and you ask yourself the question, okay, which price do I want to pay?
Yes, I think it's really important for our audience that if you have to make important decisions, then of course it's good to look at all the pros and all the cons and look at it from a linear, logical, rational perspective. But it's also very important that when you have to make decisions, that you look at how does it feel? How does it feel if I go left? How does it feel when I go right? There's an aliveness, and I think we should follow our aliveness, because that's an intelligence.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the fourth and fifth also?
Sure,
okay.
Yes. I want to know, absolutely. Yeah.
But the fourth insight, the fourth turning point was at the moment that I was on a vision quest, and then you go 4 days and nights in nature, and you only have something to lie on, and you have some liters of water, and that's it. And you're totally alone. And in the preparation of this vision quest, the guide, he, at one moment when we were in a group, he pointed at me and he really said, so, well, and I'm the most scared of you. And he explained why he was so scared of me, because he didn't really know who I was. So we were a few days together, but I was preparing myself for these 4 days, so I'm not really
That's interesting that he was scared, because I think it's hard to be scared of you. But
yeah, but he didn't know. He said it from a good perspective, okay. Because he wanted to, before he led the group out in the field, he wanted to know with who he was related with. So he wanted to know
maybe he was testing you.
Yeah, definitely he did.
Yeah.
So he told me, and I felt that I did something very wrong, and I felt that it was something from childhood, etc. And when he was ready with his talk, I felt and I was quiet, and I asked him, okay, is it okay to respond on what you said?
Yes.
And of course he said, because he's a good guide, I said, yes, you're very welcome. So I said to him, okay, if I understand right, you want me to do something for you so you can get rid of your uncomfortableness. And that you want me to do something so that you doesn't have to feel this discomfort. So how should it be if I can be totally who I am, even if you don't like it, or if it's uncomfortable to you, so that you also can be you, even when I don't like it, or when it is discomfort for me. And that gave me the insight that I can be me if I come from a good intention. So I told him also, well, was there a possibility that you could come to me and ask, hey, I'm interested in what's bringing you here and what's going on in you? And would I close the door then, or would I go into a conversation with you? So can I be me even if you don't like it, so that you can be you even if I don't like it? That was the fourth insight. And the fifth was at the moment that I lost my registration as a doctor, and that so many years I kept on to this registration and my diplomas and my certificates out of the idea that it would open many doors of me and that it would give me so many safety and security and certainty.
And did it become part of your identity as well?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's why it was also hard and costed it a few years before I was able to lose my registration, or let go my registration.
And was it a matter of courage?
Yeah, definitely it's courage, but it's also from the perspective that we think that when we, all the knowledge that we have and all the experience that we have, and we lose our registration, that also our experience and our knowledge would vanish. But of course not. But it is supported by the people around us who also think, well, you're going to lose your registration. Whoa, that would be such a waste, and that would be such a shame. Don't do that. But, well, I'm very glad I ignored that advice. Yeah. And in 2017, I already wrote down to myself after a meditation, you don't have to keep your registration to do your work as a doctor.
So Juriaan, people have many crossroads in their lives, and this was a big crossroad for you, obviously. If other people want to make that, let's say, career change, and it's not necessarily a traditional path that they want to go on, and they need some courage in order to pursue that path, what would you recommend?
Well, the best investment you can ever make is to work on the relationship between you and yourself.
Okay.
Because otherwise you make your well-being or your confidence or your self-esteem or your self-respect, you make it dependent on something that is outside of you, or you make it dependent on your registration or your certificates or your diplomas. And that's the way we've been trained. Yes. And that's the story we've gone to believe in, that if you have a registration and you know it all and you can do something, then you will get happiness and you will be successful and you will have a good and healthy life. But that's a misunderstanding.
So we've been... Yes, you can, but first me. Through conditioning... And through our education system and through our mainstream media, there's a social hypnosis where we are conditioned to listen to an outside authority, because I think this is a very important point. And what you're actually saying, and we will talk about it right now, is that there is also an inner authority. And you said we have to listen to ourselves. That should be our authority, our inner authority, right? And one of the most important things you said was, the first time I interviewed you, was that you said, the greatest problem is that we don't know who we really are. Mm-hmm. So would you like to talk a little bit about who we really are?
Yeah,
if we're going to listen to
before
ourselves.
that.
Yes.
Okay, because I think it's confusing when you say the relationship between you and yourself.
Yes.
I think first, for the public, we then need to define
Yes.
what is you and what is yourself. The same like people say, I love myself. What the shit does that mean? I love myself. What is it that you love?
Yes.
Who is the I, who is the self?
Yes.
So in that case, just for you to clarify how you see that, when you say I need to do between you and my whatever, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that, the you and the other you?
Is that your question, or are you going to tell us?
No. I'm interested to know. Because for me it's confusing.
Okay, from my opinion, it's my perspective. It's not the truth, but it's how I look at it. No, sorry?
Why is it not the truth?
No, because I think it's important that everybody can check to him or herself.
Well, but then it's your truth.
Of course.
Well, then say it.
Okay, it's
okay,
my truth.
It's your truth. That's okay.
That's okay.
Right.
So, we have what we say most of the times, well, that's who I am. But actually, that's the person you have become because of all the things that you have learned and how the outside world is looking at you. And that you have been telling yourself stories how you have to behave to be a good daughter, a good son, a good father, a good mother, a good colleague, or whatever. But that's not really who you are. The person who you really are, the best with what you can compare it is the person who came to Earth and didn't have to do anything, but was exactly good as he or she is, so that your the right for existence, you got it from the moment you were born. And most of the people think that they have the right to for existence when they do something, so that in the eyes of others, they have the right to become somebody or have the right for existence. So, and this is the relationship between the me and myself. So can I see the identity I have? And there's nothing wrong with an identity, because when I call the hospital and they say, well, you're speaking with Dr. Juriaan, all doors go open. And if I only say, yeah, you're speaking with Juriaan, all the doors stay closed. So there's nothing wrong with an identity, but the question is, who is ruling who? Who has leadership over who? Do you have leadership over your identity, or has your identity leadership over you?
But who is the you?
The you is well, like Baptiste in his book is written from the intention of the soul.
Okay.
The title of your latest book is Jij bent de liefde, you are the love. So our real identity is the love then.
Yeah, and the love is your true self.
So is that the soul?
So
is that spirit?
Yeah,
what
I think your soul, your crux, your the part of you which can enjoy life and enjoys doing what you are doing.
Have you ever seen a dead person in your life?
Yes, I did.
So when you see a dead person, you see that the aliveness is no longer there.
No, but
so
you have also many living dead people.
Yeah, the zombies. Yeah, the living dead. No, that's true. Yes, they walk, they talk, they work hard sometimes. They watch television.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we all know them.
Yeah. But when you see a dead body, then you see that the aliveness, the spirit, is no longer there. It's just a skin. So that's where we live the body temporarily. Is that also what you believe, that we are the soul, that's our true identity? So we have this mortal part of us, and then there's this infinite immortal part of us.
Yeah, and I call it your preciousness. Yes. But actually it's the same as you describe, that it is the intention of your soul.
Yes.
And well, somebody feels more with the word preciousness, and the other one more is more soul-minded. But we're talking about the same.
Yes. So, Juriaan, could we say that, let's say we have the personality and we have the soul. Your personality wanted to maybe be, traditional MD, medical doctor. But your soul said, no, Juriaan, we have different intentions. You're going to choose for a more holistic approach, and you're going to write books about that. Can you feel the difference between your personality and your soul, that they had different intentions, looking back?
yes, looking back,
Yeah.
I can. But
Yes.
I think the magic is that the soul, it is an intention, but it does not have a goal.
Okay.
When we're talking about this now. Because
Yes.
when I started to feel, well, this is not the path I want to walk any longer, I couldn't imagine that I would write 2 books, or that I would even sit here with you and with Roy, or do the theaters, etc. I didn't have any perspective of that one. It just existed by following each day what was right and good for me.
It's what Martin Luther King said. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step and follow
Yes.
that energy.
And-
Then things will just happen. They will just evolve gradually.
Yeah, but that takes courage, because
Yes.
you have to. That takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
Because you have to trust on the unknown.
Yes. If you look at the origin of the word courage, in Latin it's cor, which means heart. In French we say courage, cœur. There's heart in it. So in order to be courageous, you need heart. I think you need a heart.
Yeah, that would
Yes.
be nice. Yes.
Yes, but
He likes the heart.
So courage is something that I think becomes bigger when we open our heart. Do you agree?
Yeah, you can develop courage by following your heart.
Yeah.
So you can experience it, and that out of the experience you dare to trust
Yes.
that this is guiding you,
Yes.
and that you need this one to realize it in the form. But this is guiding you which way you have to go.
So Rob,
One second.
yeah, I
So,
just want to ask you a question.
no, but this is important about the heart, because the heart is. There are 2 ways to see it from the physical perspective. You have the 3 brains.
Yes.
So we have the heart as a brain. In Chinese medicine, we call it the 3 burners. But it's not the heart. People say, because the heart is a muscle.
Yes.
It's definitely not the heart. So you need to go one step beyond that. And then we're looking at what's called more like the chakras. And so is it the heart guiding you, or is it the idea that the heart is guiding you? And if we would just change that and say the heart, but not the physical heart, but let's call it the chakra heart, that's the portal to that other essence that you are. But you feel it here. So when you point, nobody says, I am Roy. I would say, I am Roy.
you
So
point here.
we always have that connection, but the confusion is it the heart? And I think that a lot of people now start believing in the heart, but it's not the heart at all.
But Roy, this is really important. So you have the physical heart, which is the pump, right?
Right? Yeah.
But I think there's also, let's say, the spiritual heart. We could say the seat of the soul. If you look at the science of HeartMath, and you're very familiar with that, then when we receive intuitive information, which is coming from the field or our soul, science shows that we receive the information first here, and then the heart is sending that to our brain, and then our brain is sending it to our gut. So many people say,
that is not complete correct.
okay, this is the science of HeartMath.
Right or not? It sends it back to the heart.
Back to the heart, and then the heart sends
Yes,
it
the
to
heart,
the gut. Okay.
because the brain needs to come up with a plan.
Yes.
And then you send it up to the brain, and then go back. The heart has to check it.
Yes.
Is this okay? If it's not okay, send it back.
Yes.
So if a person goes from head to gut, they're very impulsive.
Okay.
Right? So people just think of something, they go.
Yeah, but a lot
Because
of
they
people
didn't-
say, I don't feel it in my heart, I feel it in my gut, in my underbelly, in Dutch, in my onderbuik. I mean, you must recognize that, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Especially as a child, the information comes in more here. So the child reacts from that. From Chinese medicine perspective, this is where we move forward.
Yes.
This is the power that we need and what you call courage.
Yes.
But it's a whole process that happens before you can get to the courage. And most people get stuck in the head, and they become paralyzed or whatever. So, but if we go one step back, so in this case, we talk about the unknown, what it is not who we are, it is what we are. So when we look at our personality, that's not what we are. We are something that's impossible to define by the human mind. We cannot totally understand what we are. So we make the best out of it, and we talk about things that makes it easy for us to talk about it. But if I would go back to what you're saying, there are 2 ways to go. One way would be you believe that you make those decisions, right? That's a belief. Is that true? Or are these steps already there? and you're just feeling it. So I'm just going to give you an example why I'm asking this. There's, I think most people know something about the Akasha Chronics, right? And that's that was brought in life by Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, and he would go out of his body, go to this library where all the books are of your lives, right? And then we give an advice. Now there exists something like that on the planet Earth in India, and it's called the Palm Leaves Library. So when you go there, your whole life is described. Every step of the way is in there. So my question then is it we that are deciding, or it is a bigger destiny and we're just walking the path and we're playing the game like we're doing something?
Okay, so this is really important for the people who don't know who Edgar Cayce is. Edgar Cayce was, actually.
Yes.
They called him the sleeping prophet. And when he was actually in a state of sleep, he could reach into the Akashic records, right? That's basically where all the information is.
Right.
It's all available
We
there.
call this now the quantum field.
You call it the quantum field. And he was tuning into that. Is that something that we all can do?
Exactly.
How can we do that?
Well, basically, if we go back to what we are born with everything. We are creators, because where we come from, everything is instant. You want to live in a castle, you are in a castle. So we come here in the slowing down of the vibration, so everything changes. So, but we are born, for example, with psychic gifts. But we are educated in a family where nobody acknowledges these gifts, and we lose them by not using them. So part of, now, for example, you've learned remote viewing, but you were born with that gift, right? So actually we're relearning a lot of stuff we already were.
We must unlearn what we have learned,
We have
actually.
to unlearn the conditioning and go back to what we are, and then we can do magic. We can do healings with our hands, with our thoughts, in an instant.
Yes.
So I think the path of discovery that we're doing is to come back to discover what we are.
Yes.
And it's a step-by-step process. But it's just a game. We make it so freaking serious as if this is true.
Okay, so Roy, hold that thought. I think this is the most important thing. The title of Juriaan's book is You Are the Love, Jij bent de liefde. And I think what you're saying right now is very key. It is that if we really know what we are or who we are, that this is a game changer, right? So I would like to know, who are we really? What is our true identity?
No, it's what we are.
What we are, okay?
Not who we are.
So why is it what?
Because as a human being, and we are not human beings, it's an illusion that we're human beings. We are being human, but we are infinite, we are eternal, we are pure in essence. Right? We can lose our way, so if you believe that everything is good, it's not true. It can be good or bad. That's the polarity that we live in. So when we become spiritual, we create these beliefs we should not judge, whatever. But as long as you judge, you're not spiritual. It's an oxymoron. So what we are is a divine essence. And what we can learn is to connect back to the divine essence. And then we discover, wow, I am all of that. I think Deepak Chopra said it the nicest. He said, enlightenment is to embrace your dark side and your light side. That's enlightenment. It is not judging your dark side, because no matter what you do, and I think Dr. Juriaan said very perfectly in one of his talks, is that, you know, it is, you will always not be perfect, right? But you will strive to be perfect. And that creates a conflict in us until we relax, I'm not perfect. This is okay. So we need to give us permission not to be perfect, but still strive to be the best version we can be. And then we get into, some people call it intuition, you call it connecting to the heart, all of that. But there's so much more. Now, you have done remote viewing, but you can astral travel, you can do healings. But do you want to do all of that because it's work? You know, so we need to work in order to become what we are back. And unlearn and let go, release all the stuff we think is true. So when I look at my dear colleague here, I still see some suffering in that process from becoming what you are. But if I would say that the most important thing of what you are is joy. So our striving is to become the most loving, joyful, playful, fuck seriousness. kind of person. And there we are, there where we need to be. And every time we see where we go back in what we are not, we look into the mirror and we go back. And I think we're doing the same in a different way. And because you were very good in explaining, you need to take the time and not react, right? Take a step back, connect, and then respond. That space, and the more you do it, the faster it can go. But we are automatic beings by our brains, which is programmed in an autopilot kind of way, even though emotions are autopilot. So if we break the pattern, then we go into the gap of where we are, what we are.
So what are the best ways to break the pattern?
You said it beautifully in that interview. Stop.
Stop.
Don't react. Take your time.
Yes.
Breathe, connect.
Yes.
That's all we need to do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And forget what it's all about and just ask yourself the question. If I'm this all-powerful being, this pure love, how would I respond in this situation?
Okay.
Then, if you keep breaking the pattern, you break the physiological pattern in your brain, which is the neurosynaptic complexes that we have that creates the autopilot.
Okay.
We need to break that pattern over and over and over. And then boom, we no longer react. Now we are connected to our greatest, grandest version.
So, Roy, what do you say to people who are watching right now and they say, "Oh, I don't know about that. I was taught that I am the body and I'm, just a human being, and that soul stuff and that spiritual stuff. I don't know if I'm really a soul." What do you say to them? How can they really start believing that they're more than just the body and a human being?
I would say wait till they die.
Wait till they die.
Then they know.
But have you seen the film Flatliners, where they actually evoke that classical near-death experience?
Yeah. No, but what I mean with that, it is the if question.
Yes.
If you're wrong, what are the consequences of being wrong? So
if you're wrong about what?
Of I'm just a body.
Okay.
If you're wrong, and then you die, and you're looking down, and you say, "Holy shit, I am not the body." Do you want to wait till you die,
Yes.
or do you want to take a calculated risk to explore that?
Yes.
Do you understand the difference?
Yes.
If they don't believe me, say, "Wait till you die." I'll be waiting for you. Then we have the conversation.
So would it be helpful to read books about near-death experiences?
Definitely.
Yes.
And that's what I like about the flatliner thing, is that where you artificially
Yes.
induce a near-death experience. I was lucky to have it twice.
Yes.
So if I don't know what I am, then...
So was that for you when really your perception on who you are, did it change because of those two near-death experiences?
Yeah, the first time, I'm a slow learner, so the first time it didn't help. I had this car accident that was thrown out of my body, and somewhere, everybody is happy, this pure love. It was so nice.
Yes.
I would say everybody was on cannabis.
But
It was just that feeling.
But if it was so nice, why did you come back?
Because the fucker sent me back.
Okay. So you had no choice?
I had no choice.
Okay.
They said, "Your mission is not finished. Go back."
Okay.
I was, no. Boom. I'm back in my body, paralyzed from here down,
Yes.
in the intensive care. And I said, "Holy shit, why do you do this to me?" I was angry and pissed off for years.
Yes.
All right?
But you
because I
realized-
want to go back.
Okay.
What people need to know, that is the best orgasm you will ever have.
Okay.
All right? Because you're out, and it's so wonderful.
The only problem is that it's, a one-time orgasm, I think, right?
Yeah.
But longer than you used to.
Yeah.
It's a long orgasm.
I don't know, he knows.
Yeah.
But so you already had two orgasms in your life.
Yeah, the second one made more sense.
Yeah.
The first one, I just wanted to go back.
Yes.
And so I now was stuck with a problem.
Okay.
Because I didn't understand. So my spiritual journey started trying to figure out what that was. But I got taken on by life, and you refocus again what you have to do. Like you say, you have to be the good boy, you have to do what you have to do, etc.
Yeah.
The way you're conditioned. So my conditioning was still too strong. And then they said, "Okay, we're going to do it one more time." And then I got it, okay? And then I start believing this more. And then I start exploring until I found the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is to be able to bypass your critical mind and to connect to that. And one of the fastest way that I found that saves you years of trouble is hypnosis.
Hypnosis. Yeah.
Because we can meditate for 20 years, or we can do hypnosis a few times and we can have the same result.
Yes.
Sometimes with just one session. Yes. And that for me was an eye-opener, that it's just around the corner. And we don't have to go 20 years in exploring and doing that. If we can bypass that critical mind, that conditioning, we are exactly in what we are.
What I noticed in reading near-death experiences, books about it, is that the people who experience that and come back, they all become fearless. Do you feel that you are also fearless in what you do?
The fearlessness is different, and then it's not about fear. It is knowing you cannot die.
Yes.
So you become powerful.
Yes. Knowing that you are actually immortal.
Yeah,
right?
you are an immortal. It's different than being a human being. I know I cannot die.
Yes.
I know I will not die before my time. I know I will die when I choose to die.
Yes.
To have that knowledge is different than to have some sort of Damocles hanging around or above your head. And so I think it was in Tibet they say, in order to live, you first need to embrace that.
Yes.
So once you embrace that, everything opens up.
Yes.
There's no fear anymore. And also you can look at people with more compassion, because most people are still struggling, trying to survive. That's the whole point. And I think if I look at my dear colleague, that's exactly what we're teaching. We are much more than that human shell.
Yes.
That we are. And I think the book about love, I'm very curious to read it, to find out what is then love.
Yes.
Because even that word is very confusing.
Yes. Yes. If we look at, there's a near-death experience in my book, Learn to Manifest Like Oprah Winfrey and J.K. Rowling. And it's not just our identity, it's also what comes with the identity. When Anita Moorjani was in that hospital in Hong Kong and she was having her near-death experience, she was having this outer body experience, she realized that she was in another realm, another dimension, and there was no place and time. So time does not exist in that true identity. The other thing that she noticed was that she had a heightened awareness in terms of that she knew everything at that moment, so that she really was infinite intelligence. Another thing that she noticed was that her true identity was unconditional love. So if we are unconditional love, infinite intelligence, and our true identity can connect with a space where there's no place, time, space, what does that say about our real capacities, about what we really can do and what we can manifest in our lives?
Exactly.
Yes. So are there any limits to what we can do, actually?
No. If you look, I don't know if you, what was it, Masters of the Far East, we can teleport outside our body. One way is astral traveling. One way, and it's a higher level, that we can take the body somewhere. I mean, so for example, if we take the Breatharians, we don't need food, we don't need drink.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Breatharians, they can just live on light, right?
Live on whatever you want to call it, love, light, energy, frequency. I call it quantum energy. So
have you done that in your life?
Oh, many times. So
for how long? 2 months, 3 months?
6 months.
6 months
is the thing. But it's very boring because everybody's eating. Yes. But the point is that you break through your paradigms.
Yes.
So if you know that you can heal a person instantly, for example, that's a paradigm. If you know you can heal someone on distance, if you know you can step outside of your body and be on distance. So, and it goes step by step. But what I found, and that's basically my passion, is that the quickest way to that is not a near-death experience. That's a tough one.
Yes.
Because a near-death experience...
Because there's some risk involved.
Yeah, right? There's some. You can go too far.
Yeah.
But that's where, meditation is one gateway. But meditation is a long way to learn how to relax your mind and then to be in nothingness. And what Deepak Chopra said, that every time you're in nothingness, you release part of your karma. He called it the gap.
Yes.
So the more time we can spend in the gap, the more we bring back of that what we are.
So what is the way to do that? Meditation, and then what kind of meditation? Because there's so many ways of meditation.
Okay, so everything starts with the intention. Many people spend years meditating, losing time. It is just beneficial for the body. Every time I go into meditation, I lower my brain waves to alpha down to theta. What I'm doing also to my body is I bring it from a sympathetic tone to a parasympathetic tone. So that's the healing space. So teaching people how to do that is one thing. But that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is the mind itself. If we relearn how to use the mind, let me give you one simple example. I had many cancer patients, and they get chemotherapy. The only thing I need to teach them is to see the chemotherapy as beneficial to the body, that the hair grows thicker, that it is like a vitamin, and it only destroys the cancer cells. We can change the effect of chemotherapy. And I learned this from yogis who can take lethal poison and let it go to their body. So chemotherapy is a lethal poison, but if you modulate that and target exactly what you want, then you destroy the cancer cells, but your body stay healthy.
But do you believe in chemotherapy?
What is belief? Is it a religion?
No, but I'm asking you, do you believe it's working?
If you would ask me what is more effective than chemotherapy, I would say there are many more effective tools.
Okay, but if you would have cancer, would you do the treatment?
Number one, I will never get cancer, but number two, I would never take chemotherapy.
Okay. Never.
Absolutely no. It's not needed. I can do it with water. Why do I? Because it's the mind. I can turn this into a good chemotherapy for my body.
Yes.
And that power in our world, they call it placebo.
Yes.
A placebo is the most powerful tool that we have.
Roy, there's one kind of meditation that I really... I did transcendental meditation. I learned it when I was 18. But there's one meditation that I really like. That's heart coherence meditation. Mm-hmm. The Institute of HeartMed, they teach you how to create heart coherence. This is a state where we experience love and gratitude in our hearts. And when our heart opens, our heart is sending signals to the brain, and our left and right brain start to work together more, and we become more intelligent because we will use more of our brain capacity. And I notice when I am in a state of heart coherence that the mind chattering stops. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense, of course, but because when we are in a state of nervousness or fear, then we make, most of the time bad decisions. So why is it so important to be in a state of heart coherence if we want to stop the mind chatter?
Well, you see, in my human personality, I'm very impatient.
Yes.
And I like that because I'm looking for effective ways. So I like that, but I think that's for babies.
Okay.
So you have to understand that the true thing that we need is to remove disharmonic energies.
Okay.
That's the purpose. Whatever we do, you can look at heart coherence, that's the result, but that's not the goal. So the question is how to get in that coherence where it's also effective for our other things. So one of the things that I've learned from a Buddhist monk is a breathing technique. It looks a little bit like rebirthing, but the intention is different. And he calls it karma burning. You get in the same state of coherence, you even get outside of your body, you may even go to past lives, but it's through that breathing that you truly burn the disharmonic energies. And then when you add the intentions and to remove anything that no longer serves you, people make quantum jumps in their development. So if we go back to heart coherence and this, you will have to practice for a long time in order to get bigger benefits. Yes. But if you have a system where you can fastly burn all the stuff you don't need, your body benefits, your mind benefits, you make quantum leaps in spiritual growth because when you focus on your breathing and you do it very forcefully and you're doing mantras in your head and the intention is for healing and to raise your frequencies, in 10 minutes, you can get effects that therapists cannot get sometimes in 6 months.
Okay, so are you talking about a breathing technique? Is that what
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more effective than, and it's measurable.
So you are aware of the work of Joe Dispenza, of course.
Of course.
And he's using a breathing technique to basically push the energy into your third eye. Can we say that? Is that the same? Is that what you're talking about?
No. What Joe Dispenza is doing, he has a theory about the crystals in the pineal gland and a lot of mumbo jumbo. But the point is that what he's doing is create hypoxia in the body.
Yes.
Right, and then he starts pumping, and the theory is then you're pumping the spinal fluid up, and you get a kind of a Kundalini effect, and so on.
An orgasm in the brain.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's the great thing. But the point is creating that tension, and you feel it in your head, and the moment of release, that's where everything stops. The theory is great, but it's about the practice.
Okay.
I don't believe in the theory, but I believe in the result. So I do know there are crystals in the pineal gland. I didn't see the scientific proof that we're massaging the crystals. The goal is to open the pineal gland. And what is the pineal gland? You can say that's the sender receiver into the quantum field. So what he's getting is that everything else stops, and all of a sudden you are in the quantum field. The part that he's missing is that he is not very clear on intention. So people go there, but they don't learn to use the power of intention to get the results that they want. And because the intention is weak, a lot of people don't get the results they can get with this technique.
So how can we create stronger intentions then?
Okay. You really want to know?
Yes.
All right, so let's define, Wayne Dyer was great on intention,
Yes.
by the way. So let's define what is the intention is nothing else than informing the energy field of that what you want to create. So intention is the creating force. Now, when we talk about intention, we have first of all, what is it that you want? The second is on what frequency wave you send it out. The third thing is the intensity of the intention. So there are three factors. So we need to have clarity on what is that we want. And there's where people already get confused because they have another problem. The problem is, do you believe that you deserve what you want? So we got in that stuff.
Okay, hold that thought. Is it not important first to identify where the intention is coming from? Because you can have intentions, from your personality, let's say more cars, or your soul can also have intention. And I think the personality and the soul have different intentions. So I think it's very important to let the personality first serve the intentions of the soul, to serve that energy.
I don't agree.
Okay, please.
No, simply because we tend to make good or right.
Yes.
Ego or spirit. Yes. There's no ego and spirit.
So you think it's the same?
It's exactly the same because if I want more cars,
yes,
okay, whatever. The point is that spiritual people judge the possessing of the cars.
Yes.
But the truth is, does it give me pleasure to have more cars?
Yes.
Okay. That in the end, it is not what you have, it is who you become.
Yes, but the soul is immaterial, so I think the soul is not so interested in having more cars.
Who cares?
Just maybe as an icing on the cake, but not as
no, that's a discussion we don't know.
Yes. No, but I'm asking you.
No, sure. The point is not the possession.
Okay.
Every path leads to the same outcome.
Okay.
And the outcome is, are you aware of what you are?
Okay.
I am aware of what I am. I can live on light. I can be in freezing cold, feel nothing, whatever. All those things I can do.
Yes.
I can heal. I can do that. I can heal cancer, all that kind of stuff. That gives me pleasure.
Yes.
That is my destiny on this planet. I am aware what I'm coming to bring to this planet. And now I can have fun because what the soul wants is for me to be happy so I can do my work in a better way. If I love cars, give me the damn cars, then I'll do my work better.
Like Osho.
Yeah. Do you see? So there's no judgment in that.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody can have anything they want because in heaven you can have anything you want.
Yes.
Here we discuss, is it personality or that? Yes. I said, don't even ask the discussion. What I'm saying is, first become aware, and now we're talking the same language, become aware, what am I doing here?
Yes.
We have what am I, and then I'm here. What is this?
Okay, so what
here?
are we all doing here?
I think we are bored in infinity. We've spent a lot of time in heaven, and we think, is this all there is?
So we are here because it's boring.
Yeah, it's very boring. Everybody's loving, kind, and so on.
But I can imagine that if you're just, infinite consciousness and you're just a soul, you're not in a material body, then I think at one point it becomes boring. So you decide to incarnate into a body.
Right, to discover what you are not.
Okay.
That's why we're here, to find out what we're not.
Yes.
So we suffer through all the conditioning, and then all in a different, unique ways.
Yes.
He's done it in his specific way, because now he has a story.
Yes.
He needs a story to go out there so people can resonate with him.
Yes.
Because he is going to have a different resonance with the people than I would do. So he needs a different story.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean he's good or bad, or I'm good or bad, I'm better than him, I know more than him. No, he's specifically here for his story. Because that's what people resonate with. I'm more the a rebel. He's more the good guy. And then one of my ideas said, we should write a book together, The Good Cop and the Bad, no, The Good Doctor and the Bad Doctor. Because we are in polar, but we both are serving the same.
Yes.
It's just our story is different.
Yes.
That's all. So once we know why we're here, that's our story.
Yes.
And the story is always a hero's journey.
Yes. Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, you need to fail and go up and think I got it, and then shit, this is not it. Fail again.
Yes.
That's our hero's journey.
Yes.
And that's the story we have to tell.
And do we still need that story?
Not really, but it's fun.
Okay, so what is the new story you would like to write for humanity?
For humanity, it is just very simple. Wake the fuck up.
Okay. Wake the fuck up to what?
To you.
To
So what we're saying is the same.
Okay.
He's saying the you and yourself, the identity, the true, whatever. We all saying the same. There's no difference.
Okay.
But his audience needs him, for example, for bring him to bring him to a certain level.
Yes.
Then they may need something else,
Yes.
and maybe there's something else. Could be me or someone else, Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
We are all, and once we recognize we're brother and sisters, bringing the same message in different ways, and the world needs the color of the messages, because not everybody will resonate with him.
No, or not with you.
Or with me. No, especially not with you. But but we all need to be part of that puzzle.
Yeah, but in a way, are we not all walking each other home and we're just comparing notes? Is that what we're doing?
But you see, what I'm missing is to do more together.
Okay.
I'm great in myself. I don't need anything. Once I discovered my wife Joy, that when we do together, she represents the female aspect.
Yes.
And I cannot do that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So then I said, wow.
Yes.
When we do something together, it's more complete.
Yes.
I know when we do something together, it will be more complete.
Yes. So is she completing you?
In a sense, yes. In a sense,
like in Jerry
no.
Maguire, you complete me. That scene.
No, I don't believe in that
Okay.
BS. But the point is that she has a different story, and what people want to see, and I think that Dr. Juriaan has the same thing, is when you can show people like a relationship can be like this. We both have failed. We both come from a relationship that didn't work because, for the simple reason, we needed that experience to understand that, we need more tools or something else.
So maybe it worked. It gave you what you needed to learn.
It worked in that way.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
So now you've learned the lesson, and we're still learning lessons, but we can have a better relationship.
Yes.
Because we're less ego-driven and we're more heart-driven. That will be the difference. So we both had to go to an experience like that.
Yes.
A lot of suffering.
Yes.
And then discover, no, we can do it in a better way. And then when you do things together, and in this case, my wife also wants to bring, her name is Joy, she wants to bring joy, especially to women. I can do some of that, but they don't relate to me because I don't menstruate.
Okay.
So we need her, so that's a different resonance.
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
So in a way, she completes the message, but I'm whole in myself.
Okay.
And I can say she's the icing on my cake, but the cake is delicious.
Okay.
The icing is better.
The icing makes it a little bit. Okay, Juriaan, in your work you talk about the importance of self-love. Why is self-love so important?
Well, in this society, we have made a story that we first have to take care of someone else before we take care of ourselves. Because when we take care of someone else first, then we will be a good person.
Yes.
In other words, if you take care first of yourself, then you would be a wrong person.
Yes.
And from the perspective of the assertion of power, that's a genius idea.
Yes.
I don't know if someone has invented it, but if he or she did, it is really genius, because when you let the people believe and convince them that they first have to take care of someone else so that they can be a good person or have a good life in the afterlife. Yes. That's the ideal way to get people away from their authentic power and also from their self-love.
And to control them more easily?
Maybe not.
So I noticed that especially women have the tendency to take care of other people first at the cost of themselves. You know, is that also your experience?
Yeah, but it's always from a good intention.
Yes.
Even a doctor, he's helping other people out of a good intention. Yes. But the question is if you really help them, or that we help other people so that we will not have to make contact with our own uncomfortableness with the struggling and suffering of someone else.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're not whole, when you're feeling lack, when you're not experiencing the love, and you start to help other people, then you're doing that from a space of scarcity in a way.
Yeah, you aggravate you burden your relationships with the obligation to necessarily like you and that you are such a nice and lovely person. Yes. But that's not their duty. Yes. And on the other hand, it's not only their duty, but it is also a risky place because you make your well-being dependent on the action of or the judgment of other people.
Okay. So in very practical terms, what should we do to love ourselves more? What can we do? Practical tools to do that.
Okay, the fastest way is always a detour. So I think it's good to know that the first reason why we so unhappy is because we believe that we are not good enough. And the reason for the biggest fear we have is to end up totally alone. But when you are going to take good care of yourself and you are going to make the decisions that are really good and right for you, so you decide to be an integral and sincere person, you're going to practice what you preach, you're going to stand for what you feel and how you look at life, then it's not the question if you will be judged, but it's the question when you will be judged. So the people around you will challenge you on your self-esteem and self-respect. Mm. So how do you prevent escaping in all kinds of reflexes and all kinds of escapes out of fear to lose the connection with your loved ones, out of fear to end up totally alone, and out of fear not to be a good human? And that's a serious place to be. Mm. Because how are you going to tell the people around you, that you need more space, that you need more time, that you set your boundaries, and that you are going to tell them what you really need and what you really want, and how do you stay on track even if nobody else can follow you? And when we keep on behaving on the needs of other people, so we become blind for what we really want and what we really feel, and we do that long enough, we build on a serious long list of sacrifices we have to make. Mm. So, and when you want to live a good and righteous life, a good and healthy life, on one moment you have to pay off all these sacrifices. So you have to keep that list of sacrifices so short as possible. But to do that, that needs again a lot of courage. So, and that's then the question or the answer on your question. The best way to do that is to work again on the relationship between you and yourself, so that you can stay close to yourself, close to what you feel, stay on track, even if nobody else can follow you, so that you get a strong inner world, and that will be a firm ground to build your life on.
Okay. So Juriaan, the title of your latest book is You Are the Love. And you say that self-love is really important, but one could argue that if we are already love, and if that's our essence, then we don't need to love ourselves anymore. There's a contradiction there.
How do you mean?
Because your message is that we are love, right?
Yeah. You are love, but from with the maybe love is your true self.
Yes.
And that's it.
Okay.
But the question is, can you receive and accept your own self? That you not only think that you have to be a good and perfect person, but that you allow yourself to make mistakes. And the fact that you make mistakes, that it is part of being human.
Okay.
It's just that.
So that's the self-love.
Yeah.
Yes. Allowing yourself to make mistakes, being okay with that.
And most of the time we are very strict to ourselves and more mild to us, to the outer world. But in my opinion, it would be very valuable if we turn it around and that you are very mild to yourself and more strict to others.
Okay. You also talk about being comfortable in the discomfort. What do you mean by that?
Well, the reason most of the time we have fear to change is because of the fear of risks and the not knowing. We don't know what will happen, what the consequences are. So, and because it is most of the time so unreal and unreasonable, we choose to stick on to what we know, and we stay captivated in our own beliefs. But there's very little in life what does not have a risk in it. So, to my opinion, you can better be prepared. Life will challenge you, and bad times will come on their way. And to my opinion, it can be very valuable not to strive constantly to the perfect picture or to the positive life. But prepare yourself also on the shadow parts of life, yes, and become comfortable on that part, so that when life hits you hard, or when someone else cannot acknowledge you or appreciate you for the preciousness that you are, that you do not escape in all kinds of reflexes again and burden and aggravate your relationships with the duty to necessarily like you.
Okay. So do you feel that we are all light chasers looking to be in the light most of the time, and we're not looking at the dark parts?
Well, there are two ways we can make a decision, two perspectives. And the first perspective, what we most of the time do, is that we do it reflexively. So we make a decision to get rid of the discomfort as soon as possible, with the idea when we know it, then we can do something, and when we can do something, we will come on a better path.
Yes.
But that's the question. We don't know because it's in the future. So actually, we burden each time our steps and our decisions with the duty with the obligation to necessarily be successful. But the most of our problems in our life do not exist because we are doing nothing. The most of our problems arise because we decide to go into action.
Okay.
It's like Roy Martina said, all we have to do is taste and still feel and do nothing. That's the first part.
So we are not human doings, we are human beings. So should we practice being more?
Yeah, that's the other part. The other path you can choose, and that's more a fundamental way, in which when something happens, you first stand still, feel what the situation is doing to you, and then wait and do nothing. And in the space that arises, well, you can ask yourself 1, 2, or 3 questions. And the first question can be, well, if this situation would there be for me?
Okay.
So it's not against me, it's not depriving me from something, but it is really giving me something so that I can learn, grow, and develop. Okay. Even if it's so unreasonable, but if it is there for me, what should it be? And the second question, well, if I would be really friendly to myself, what should I do?
Yes.
Or maybe more important, with what should I quit?
Yes.
And the third question could be, what would contribute the most to the relationship between me and myself?
Okay.
But to do that, the first thing you have to do, and that's a contradiction, the first thing you have to do is stand still, wait, feel, and do nothing.
Okay, do nothing.
And in essence, so simple, but not easy at all.
Not easy. Okay, we're going to hold that thought. We will have a 10-minute break now, and then we will be back for part 2. Thank you. So, gentlemen, you both have a medical background, and you have been practicing medicine for 15 years. You've been doing it for 1 year, and then you were fed up with it.
Oh, the general practitioner.
Yeah, general practitioner. Yeah. And I would like to talk about our medical system and what's lacking, and then afterwards I would like to talk about what can we do to improve our medical system. So first of all, Juriaan, what do you think is quote unquote wrong with it right now, with our traditional medical system?
I think the bottom line is that we, as a physician, feel ourselves responsible for the health of somebody else. And that we think that we can heal someone else, but the only one who can heal himself is him or herself. We cannot do that as a doctor. We have to come down from our throne, and that we more go into guiding instead of telling people what they have to do to live a good and healthy life.
Okay, so a doctor should not try to treat the symptoms. The doctor should have a more preventive role. Is that what you're saying? A more guiding role?
Yeah, but not only preventing. Nowadays, it's very popular to go into preventive medicine, but actually the same as in history is starting over and over again, because now we are telling people what they have to do and which vitamins they have to consume, etc., and that they have to do more on exercise, etc. And that's the same thing as we always did, because then still the physician is going to tell the other one what he or she has to do. But we all know which corridors we have to pass in the supermarket. We don't need any advice on that one. It's much more important to guide people to make the right choices and to handle the difficulties they will be confronted with when they have to make the choices that are really essential.
Yes. If I look at your work, I think that you're advocating a more holistic approach towards medicine, right? Regular medicine is not holistic.
No, it is changing,
yes,
but it is divided in all kinds of packages, and if you do not suit in one package, then we go to the other, but that's not also it. So at the end, when you have a problem and, for example, the cardiologist can't find anything, you go back to the general practitioner, and he or she has to solve the problem, and then the problem starts over again, because the general practitioner feels him or herself responsible for the health of the other person. But then we come to my first book, and what if your body is much more smarter than your mind? And that when you feel discomfort mentally or physically, how should it be when your body is there for you and it is telling you something, that you have to change something in your life? And that you can ask yourself, oh, okay, if this complaint is there for me, what does it want to tell me? And where should I quit with saying yes and I should more saying no, or the other way around? So what could I change in my life so that it is right and good for me?
So if people are suffering from an illness and they want treatment, what are good questions they can ask themselves?
Now, the first question is not to want to solve it, but, this simple question. If this is there for me, that it is not against me, that it is not depriving me from something, but it is really bringing me something to tell me.
So the approach should be that it is a gift instead of a curse?
Yeah, because, and it is not about if it's true or false or right or wrong. It is always what contributes the most to the relationship between you and yourself.
Yes. And could the question be, what is this symptom trying to tell me? What is it trying to show me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So if you answer that question, what are good ways to find answers to that question?
Stop for a second.
Please.
We cannot go on like this. I'm suffering.
Okay, good.
Number one, let's define medicine first, because now we are at the level, and I'm totally okay with what Dr. Juriaan is saying, but he's dreaming.
Okay.
The system is a cancer.
Okay.
And the system needs to be destroyed. Simple. if you look at statistics right now and you would have honest statistics, doctors are killing people. They're the number one cause of that. Not the doctors, when I say doctors, but it's the pharmacy that they prescribe are killing people. And we don't see these statistics. Doctors are number one in killing people through pharmacy, and they're number four in making mistakes.
Yes.
Those are the
But
true
does
statistics.
not pharmacy own all the medical schools?
It's even worse than that. They are the ones hypnotizing the doctors to believe this is the system. I have friends in the system, and they are in a prison in the system, because if they go in a different way, they're being punished. So the system is wrong. That's number one.
Okay.
What Dr. Juriaan is saying is more the solution on a general level, and I would say that would be we need education about health already in school. That's where it needs to be.
Yes.
But the system itself is taken hostage by the big pharma. Can you imagine that during COVID, I come out with treatments for the virus which are simple? I've helped thousands of people. I'm being banned on Facebook, on YouTube, and I have to pay 80,000 euros in fines for helping people. So there's something is wrong with the system where slowly but surely they're taking people out like Dr. Juriaan and me. Even you cannot find the websites anymore, for example, Dr. Mercola, because also big tech is behind it. So on one side we have the system that is corrupt, is money-driven, is what the big pharma wants is consumers, not solving any type of problem. So
Because they want to sell.
of course, they want clients. They don't want the solution. The doctors are prison. I have a lot of compassion for my colleagues. There's nothing wrong with the doctors with the intention what they want to do. They are there to serve people, but they're in a prison, so they cannot get out. So with all respect for my colleague, I said we need to destroy what's broken and rebuild what is need to be rebuilt. It is a shame that a country like China who had a perfect medicine is now using Western medicine. India, the same thing. They have Ayurvedic medicine, but that's been pushed down by big money. So that's number one.
And Ayurvedic medicine is much older than our medical
So
system.
I can ask my colleague, if someone ever says to you, talks about medical science, it is not science. It is fraud. If you have enough money, you pay to people to create a illusion of this is helping, which we did in COVID. So we cannot talk even about science. We're talking about fraud. That's number one. So there is no medical science. It's the most fraudulent so-called pseudoscience there is. Just think about this.
But I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think it is important that if we very soon it goes over right and wrong. But I think you said it earlier, but that the intention of the doctors that is coming from a good place because they want to help people.
Absolutely.
But they are not aware and have not the conscious that they are in a system what isn't working. So it's not about right and wrong. It's more about not knowing.
And that's for the doctor's level.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. On the higher level, the big pharma, it is wrong. There's no excuse for that. How they use science to sell. That's number one. That's totally wrong. That system is corrupt. It's been taken hostage by the oil industry, by the Rockefellers. They influenced those systems. That's a fact. So if we don't break that system, we will keep on suffering. That's one.
And let's say science or pharmacy is also lying with statistics all the time.
All the time.
People believe that.
But how do you look at, for example, what you said about chemotherapy with breast cancer, for example?
For what okay, but let's do one step before that. Okay, the step before that is, if you're a drug lord and you sell cocaine, whatever, you go to prison. If you're the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, you kill people, you get a slap on the wrist and you continue doing that.
Or you get a big fine.
A big fine, but who cares? They pay the billions, they don't care. The system does not change. So that's one thing. Now let's go to chemotherapy. Okay, so the question is, do we have better non-damaging systems available? So just take this for a second. Just come with me for a moment, right? You enter into a hospital. You get what we call the white flood, all these doctors and professors. And just to be sure that you know I'm a doctor, I'm going to wear this shit around my neck. I'm going to speak a language you don't understand. So I'm creating this authority thing, and you don't even look at the page. You're talking now to the assistant, do this, this, and that. You're creating this enormous hypnotic effect. The reason people still get out of the hospital, just think about it. More expensive than hotel, shitty food, right? That you still get out of the hospital is a miracle. That's it. And that's the placebo effect of medicine. So if I give you chemotherapy and I tell you this is going to kill the cancer cells, is it a chemotherapy or is it that it is going to kill the cancer cell? I can fill this with placebo and put in just physiological salt, whatever, and get the same result as chemo. The only difference is that I need to tell you this is good for you. So I do not see the value in chemo in this aspect, in that sense. If you know now, if you look at the statistics, what's happening is that the pharmaceutical industry is getting more and more problems to have a greater effect than placebo effect. Some of the medicines on the market, if they would test them against placebo effect again, placebo effect will win because the collective consciousness is getting stronger.
So for our viewers, what is the placebo effect? Because not everybody knows.
Okay, I think he knows it better than me because I'm too much in this stuff. I don't know the difference. What's the official, let's say, definition of placebo?
The official one I do not know, but placebo is that you think that. Well, you described it when you put something in somebody which has no effect, but you gonna tell them that there will be a result, and the other person is going to believe that will be the outcome.
Yes.
The result will be exactly like that.
Okay.
So, for instance, you give someone a pill and there's really nothing in it, but you tell them that it will help them and heal them, and they start to believe it, and that in itself will heal them because they believe it will work.
Well, there's a nice story from my father. He's now 78, but in his younger years, when he started his practice, there were really placebo pills that he couldn't prescribe. And when somebody was in front of him and he really didn't know what to do with him or her, he prescribed just placebo, and that person went to the pharmacy and got a recipe and got the pills, and he thought, well, this is going to help. And yes, it helped.
Yeah.
This is actually a confirmation of what you said, that our body has tremendous intelligence and healing powers.
Absolutely.
Right? Once you believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a similar story, which is very funny, is when I was doing my residency, Kooschap in Curaçao, and in the psychiatry, neuropsychiatry, all the new medical students will get the same patient who's been everywhere for years, and he couldn't sleep. He had problems sleeping, so it was my turn. And I called up the pharmacy and I asked them, what is the biggest pill that you guys have in vitamins? So they told me, I said, okay, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to sell a patient to you, give him this pill. And I said to the patient, listen, I have a friend who is a veterinarian doctor. He specialized in elephants suffering from insomnia. I am not allowed to prescribe you this, but you need to promise me that you cannot tell anybody that I'm going to give you this. And the second, you need to promise me, whatever happens, never take a second pill, because we cannot guarantee you will ever wake up again. So I gave him the prescription, and it was in Curaçao. And in Curaçao, we have a saying. So he came back 2 months later, totally happy, he's looking great. And he said, after God, you're the most important person on this planet. Okay, so placebo is a form of hypnosis. It's a suggestion that we give to someone. But what it proves that our mind, giving the right information, can heal the body. So I do not need chemotherapy, but if my patient gets chemotherapy, I need to teach them a placebo to make the chemotherapy work better for them. In that way, I can tell them, just visualize that the chemotherapy makes your hair grow, it kills only your cancer cells like a vitamin to your body. All my patients who've done this will always get the same response. The doctor will always increase the chemotherapy because they believe it's not working. Okay, so I had doctors even say in conferences that if there are no side effects, then the medicine is not good. Yeah. So that's the system we're dealing with right now. So where my colleague wants to go is changing the system from one way, but as long there is that system on top, yes, dictating the terms for the doctors will stay in prison. Okay. And as, let's say, even you as a physician, let's say a general physician, can you spend half an hour to an hour with the patient, right, when you have a busy practice? So you don't have time. Okay. A holistic doctor can spend an hour with the patient, and the patient gets attention, is listened to, feels understood, and that's already part of the healing. So the respect there, I'm not a number, is a big part of the healing. And then what I totally agree with you, we have to give them back to responsibility. So I've done different tests. So for example, I had patients in Curacao that got acupuncture every week. And then you see them after 10 treatments, they get better. Then I had people who couldn't pay. They were poor. So I taught them acupressure. Now they have to treat themselves. They go 10 times faster than those who come and lie down and get the needles. So the self-responsibility is an important part that we need to educate the patients. And my belief is it shouldn't start when you're sick. We should, just like what you're doing now, be more educational. Changing that is one part, but if we don't change the rotten system, we will be still stuck with doctors who are killing people. I always say when you become a doctor, you're like James Bond, licensed to kill, and you get away with it. Okay, so we need to understand that. And the system is so corrupt that you or we cannot fight the system.
Yes. Well, but this can also be escape not to do anything, because and that's what actually is happening right now, that so many doctors, they are constantly arguing about the system, and they see the system as an escape that they don't have to change, and they keep on doing what they are doing.
Totally
so it's not only the system what is the problem, but it is also the doctor and even the patient who is keeping the system alive. So the doctor has to take his own responsibility, because he simply has a choice. He can choose to stay in the system and do his practice like that, or on another way. And for example, I chose the other way.
Right.
But also the patient has his or her responsibility, because in the end you are responsible for which pill you are taking. And it's much more easier to keep the doctor responsible or society responsible, just because it is easier than to take your own responsibility. And most of the time we do not want to take that responsibility, because we are not only responsible for the good parts in our lives, but also for the nasty parts.
So, I disagree in the sense that let's say you've made the choice not to be part of the system. I think it's easier for you than when you're a surgeon or a specialist or whatever, because outside the system, how are you going to function? So if you lose your license, and that's the prison. You see, if you lose your license, you cannot do anything. So in that sense, we still need the doctors to be having access to the diagnostic methods and all of that. But
well, I agree on that part when you talk about emergency problems. But when it's about chronic disease, I think you do not need a system.
I know. I don't think. I know.
But it is, well, it's very valuable when you get an accident and you break your leg.
Of course.
And who cares if it's in the system or not? It's just about that you will be operated. So I still think you have a choice and you have a responsibility to, as a doctor. And that also here, it's about which price you want to pay. Do you want to stay in the system? And so you have the feeling to be maybe a good doctor, and you have the safety and the certainty of maybe an income and to pay your mortgage, etc. Or are you going to choose for yourself, and you are going to choose to be a sincere person and the price that you have to pay is uncertainty and maybe the judgment of your colleagues and the patients.
Of course.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because you already mentioned it, but the problem is that the pharmaceutical industry owns the medical schools, owns the medical system, and they have all the money in the world. They're not interested in healing. They're only interested in selling, pushing pills, pushing vaccinations, and trying to make so much money. And they even own the mainstream media. So it's really interesting that the population is being brainwashed in believing that the pills and the vaccinations are necessary. So is it not a solution, and I'm a layman, to start medical schools that are not owned by the pharmaceutical industry? Or is that a bridge too far? Is that too hard?
I don't believe it's a bridge too far, but I think the only challenge is money. Okay. That's the one thing. So I am creating now that, finally, but the resources that you need is incredible.
Yes.
So I'm creating right now a whole eco-village in the Amazon where we'll have all the, I would say, diagnostic things from let's say, medicine, but also all the diagnostic from the holistic part. Yes. We're in the middle of the big green pharma has all the, let's say, medicine that we need. We're in the middle of a unique form of shamanism there, where we have African shamanism with indigenous shamanism, which is unique in the world, and to then do the research. So the first disease to tackle, for me, is diabetes. It's the easiest thing to cure. And diabetes is 100 to 150 billion industry that's growing at 5 to 8% a year. I've seen the statistics. You gotta have a spy in the pharmaceutical thing, and they're banking on how this is growing over time. And then you see the thinking, they're just preparing for that. So the only way I see out, we take one thing, we prove 100% true with all the scientific proof, and then not go to the system, we go to insurance companies. Insurance companies are also in it for money. They have no idealism or philosophy. If they see a cheaper way, I can show them, this is what diabetes costs. You, per patient, this is what it costs. Here, they're done forever. Here, this is going. That would be a break into the system. The other way is, you can call it the black market. People, when they see the statistics, would like to have that. So we have both of those. But then we can go to the next thing. I have 100% cure in allergies. Anaphylactic shock, cure in 15 minutes. So if we train enough people to do that, and this gets out, we can step by step. It takes you don't change the system overnight. It's a step-by-step process, but the biggest problem we had in the past is just money.
Okay, so you say that money is the biggest problem, but I believe that that's also a belief. Because if we want to change the system, the opportunities and the will to do it are more important than money, I think.
No, I don't agree. Because all the opportunity, everything is there. But you see it just in one-sided, because once you go out there, you're going to be attacked. You need to be able to pay the lawyers. You need to be counterattacking, all of those things. It's a war.
Yes, and you have experienced that, right?
Oh, yes. I've reputation damage, you just name it. At the moment you become, let's say, significant, important, you can expect the counter movement. So if people Google me, they find all kind of shit that's nothing to do with me, but it's just to destroy your reputation. Yes. So you need to be prepared for, it sounds not loving, but it's a guerrilla warfare.
Yes.
And
so you have to be the Viet Cong.
Yeah, but the money you need also to do the research, because it's not about making money, it's about spending money to prove the things in a big way. And then you need a new education system for doctors. So for a doctor to pass an exam, they need to learn a lot of bullshit. I can teach them how to do that in their sleep, because that's how I passed my medical exam cum laude. I went to college once and that was it. I saw, no, this is boring. So I learned during the sleep. We can teach doctors to learn what they need to learn to pass the exam in a very easy way, and then to focus on how to truly heal people, like what Dr. Juriaan's doing. That we need. We need new types of doctors. And the holistic doctors that we have right now, their egos are spreading all over. We are not one front. The other side is one front. And here we have everybody doing on the little islands and say, I can do this, I can do that. Let's come together, collect our expertise, and that's why I'm very happy to meet you, because I see a potential when we connect our forces, we have a bigger force.
Yes. So Roy, and also Juriaan, so the answer is not to attack the old paradigm, the old system. The answer is to create a new one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you say?
Well, I still think that it also starts with working on our inner world, especially for a doctor. So when we're going to start a new medicine school, one of the most important topics would be your inner growth, to work on the relationship between you and yourself, so that you do not use your patients and the outcomes of it to get your self-esteem and self-respect and self-confidence.
So, but there is, of course, a challenge, and I think this is the biggest challenge for our current pharmaceutical system or medical system, is that once people start to learn that they can heal themselves, then you cannot make money anymore on this, right? Is that not the reason why it's set up the way it is? Because if you change it and people learn their healing capacities, that it's harder to make money of that.
Yeah, but that's the reason why I think more in a perspective of guiding, instead of that you are the one who's telling someone else how he has to heal him or herself. That it's more about guiding someone. And I'm not perfect. I do not know it all, and I love it when I am guided by a mentor or someone else, so that I can learn, grow, and develop. And to my opinion, that's what life is about, that we are here so that we can learn from all the events that are happening. And it are not the events that are taking place that are the problem, but it is our resistance against it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But going back to your question, we're talking about money. It will not happen overnight.
No,
people are freaking lazy. That's just what it is. So you can tell them all the best things in the world. Most people need a painful event to change.
Yes, but Roy, there are a lot of people who cannot find help anymore in the current medical system. They're so sick and nothing works anymore, so they are forced to look for things outside of the medical system. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, sure. That's totally true. But if I was just taking the topic that, yes, people learn to heal themselves, that there will be no money to make. I don't believe that, because the money will still be in the education of the people. That's what we need. It's to educate them from young. That's where there's still a business, so to speak. The greatest, I mean, I hope you're younger than me, I hope we can be alive when it happens, when the system has changed. I know it will change, by the way. And you know this too, it has to change. But the point is that it needs to be education, and then you have different levels of education. Imagine we can teach children how to heal their bodies. Imagine that. My daughter knows how to deal with her emotions. When she had nightmares, she can tap her points, breathe, and she doesn't come down anymore. So imagine starting with children. How a powerful generation can we create? That's my dream. So then we won't make money anymore. Then we'll do something else. Who cares? We'll go fishing. I don't care. But the point is, it will take some time to get it there. So I see as my mission, now I have access to the money. So that problem is solved. So now I can go, I'm going to create a village, medical facilities, the best in the world. In the Amazon, we'll have schools for children. I call them quantum schools, where we're going to teach them how truly education should be.
Now you're also talking about micro-societies now?
Yeah. So the idea of micro-societies, communities that are self-supporting, but part of the community is also healing. Is where we do workshops together, where we meditate together, to have a system that I would say that would be the ideal system of the future. We need to create those role models as well.
So you're talking about creating societies of like-minded people, new societies actually, that are not connected to the old paradigm.
Exactly. And the society is, as said, the center of the society is education to the children.
Okay.
And actually, it is the children educating the parents.
Yes.
It's the other way around.
Yes.
So educare means taking out.
Yes.
It has become pushing in.
Yes.
So we need to start with children, discover what are the talents.
Yes.
Why are you here on this planet? What did you come to do? And then give them the guidance for that to
Yes.
evolve, because we are born geniuses. But the moment we come into this planet, they start taking that away from us. In the end, we think we're somebody, but we're actually nothing compared to what we truly are. And we cannot start here. We will, but we need to start there. And it best is when you come from the both sides together.
Yes.
And my dream is to have doctors like Juriaan here, where we can work together. Because just like you, I don't pretend to know everything. I mean, but we bring the experts together and co-create a new system that exists outside of the system. And then once people see what is possible, people will demand it. People demand for their children to be educated in this way. And now you create a movement that's in the beginning invisible until it's too late. And then
What do you mean? You create a movement that is invisible until it's too
because
late?
education you don't see in the beginning. Can you imagine taking children out of the jungle? I went there. The schools are miserable. And create now the new generation of geniuses, the new Einsteins, the Nikola Teslas, Leonardo da Vinci's. We all are born with this potential. So in the beginning, nobody sees it. And then all of a sudden, let's say 10, 20 years later, they become the new power, the politicians, the new doctors. Then we know that we've done something for the next generations. I can believe that maybe I will not see it, but I promise myself we'll be reborn one more time just to see it.
So, you through your books and through your speaking engagements, and you through your books, you've been writing books for 35 years now, I think.
Yes.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yes. So, is that not your little contribution in trying to create that new system? The work you do, the work you both do.
Well, from my humbleness, I think it is valuable and
Yes.
it contributes. Yeah.
Yes. And you, do you feel the same?
I'm not humble anymore, so I passed.
You don't
that
have to be
stage.
humble.
No, I don't. What I would like is to first unite forces. We create a bigger platform,
Yes.
because he's very powerful. I'm powerful. So I'm more. And when we create a bigger platform, that's what I'm going to do with the new app. We will have access next year to millions of people, and when we go into that system, we can also educate the others.
Okay.
So we need that platform to launch to good people. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if we help each other, then we make a difference. And then, so let's say your effect now, let's put it on 1. But imagine with the same effort, you can have an effect of 100. That's quantum. That's exponential exposure. And that's where we need to go. So we're creating the systems. We have now funding for 50 micro-societies all over the world. So we're looking for people to co-create these micro-societies. I cannot do it. I only am focused on the Amazon for 2 reasons. The Amazons are the lungs of the world. We need to protect them. Once we discover that the Amazon is what I call the big green pharma, that's the one thing. And then the second thing, it also contains the most medicinal plants all over in the world. I already found a new plant. It's not new, but I found a plant that could that totally can wipe out diabetes. Okay. And that is through shamanistic rituals. So the Amazon has all the answers, but the part where Dr. Juriaan plays an important role is the education of people. We can give the medicine and cure it, but that's really just basic. What we need to teach them, what is the way I see disease, it's an invitation to change something. So, and a challenge is an invitation to grow. So if you get sick, it's an invitation to change something. Now the question is, what is it that I need to change? So I can help you to release your suffering, but then I'm just doing the same as the normal doctors, but with a more gentle type of medicine. So that's the one step. But that's also the opportunity for education. By teaching them, okay, now this happened to you, what does it mean? What do you need to change? And that's what we both are doing, is using disease, and I think that was your first book, right? That was it's an opportunity.
Van klacht naar kans.
Yeah, and cancer is the biggest opportunity because now you have the clock ticking. Yeah. If you don't change fast enough, you're fucked. Simple. So now you get time pressure. And what happens with cancer is you have everybody around you already preparing your funeral. So you are in a situation where everybody is confronted with their own humanity of dying, and they're projecting this on the patient. So when I treat a cancer patient, I need to educate the family how to support the cancer patient. We need to create a healing field of love around this patient. So tell the patient, for example, all the things you're grateful for, what they've done for you, what they mean to you. The person has heard it over and over. And then you go back to what you're saying, is that we all, even though if we grow up, a lot of people still need to hear that my life was useful. People need to hear that, especially older people or younger people. We're faced with the enigma of young children dying. So I had yesterday in the workshop someone say, yes, my child is going to die. What do I need to do? I said, stop trying to do something. Why don't you accept that first? If you accept that, you can hold the place, the space where it is love instead where it is fighting.
Okay, so hold that thought. Are you saying that they have to accept that their child is dying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really hard to do for a parent.
Of course.
Maybe one of the hardest things to do.
Of course.
To do.
But the point is, there is no death.
Okay. Yeah.
There is no death. You can still communicate with the child after loss. You can still ask, why are you doing that? The child is here for a short period of time to create a process for the parents. Okay. Because the parents are going to guilt trip themselves and they have all kinds of issues.
Okay, I have a question. If for a parent that loses a child, from a spiritual perspective, why is that happening?
Well, first thing, let's rephrase the losing.
Yes.
We're not losing anything.
Yes.
In fact, we are in the illusion of losing. Does it make sense? So we think we're losing something. With the techniques that we're teaching, we can see we still can communicate. I can still talk to my father, really have nice conversations. Because my father is still there, my mother is still there. So once we learn that there's no end, there's infinity, so we go back to what we are, there's no losing. Then the question is, how can I best support this process? How can I release the guilt? How can I release the sadness? How can I find joy again in life? Imagine a husband, his wife died, and now he cannot love any other woman because he still believes that he needs to be loyal to his wife who's gone, who is happy and having parties, and he's here suffering.
But if you would lose joy, would you be able to love again?
Oh, yes, 100 times.
Okay.
The point is not I will never lose her.
Okay.
Actually,
yes.
I think it's a little bit more genuanceerd.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. You can go for it. But let us finish that thought.
Let
me finish it.
Okay.
This is an important thing. If I already made the agreement with Joy, if I go, you're going to channel me.
Okay.
So that's the agreement.
And she can marry again, of course.
Oh, definitely. She should. Find a good-looking guy and go for it.
Okay. Okay.
We don't own anyone.
No.
That's the point.
And that's real love, of course.
True love for me is accepting the other just as they are and giving up hope that it will ever change.
Yes.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. So
go ahead.
What did you want to say?
Well, I think it's from a kind of perspective, because you said it right now that we don't own anybody, but for someone it can feel as if he or she loses his or her child or what. And I think it can be very valuable to feel that loss and feel what it's actually about. And to feel what it is actually about, you have to make contact with the feelings of loss. So that you can feel that it is not about losing someone, but maybe about feeling alone, or about feeling sadness, or maybe you can be very angry about the unreasonability or maybe the injustice of losing a child. And you can say, well, you don't have to be angry because it is bringing you something. Yes, but you are angry, and or maybe very afraid. And some people say, well, you have to turn it around and see it from another perspective. And I personally find it very valuable when you make contact with this angriness and with this sorrow and sadness, because the underlying sentence is actually, I find it so difficult that, or I would so much like that this person would be still in my life. Okay, why would you like that? Why would you want that? Well, because he or she is so important to me, or I can learn so much from this person. Okay. And then it's slowly changing, not to go to a better place, but to first accept and acknowledge
Just
the
to
bad
interrupt
feelings.
you, I don't like slow. I hate slow. So the point is, I totally agree with the idea of the process, but it doesn't have to be slow. That's the only difference between me and you. I would say it can happen in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but we don't have to agree, but I tell you a little story. There was a guide, an Italian guide with skiing and skinning up the hill. And he always said when we started, slowly, slowly. That was the most important message he always said to us. And why slowly, slowly? Because, and actually you say it as well, because there is no time. You will get there. You will get there in time. And when you go slowly, slowly, you can look more around you. You can see things which you couldn't see before, and you can more enjoy the process of being in the process and learning from that and feeling what it is doing to you. So I know how it is to be very fast and the fun of that. But in my life, I've been very much appreciating the knowledge of slowly, slowly.
I understand that. That's why I will never be a ski instructor. But let me tell you a story. Let me tell you another story. Just last week, one of my workers, she came to me and said, listen, I need your help. She's been abused, sexually traumatized. She's been going to all kinds of therapists, whatever. And 15 minutes later, it's done. Completely healed. Started a new relationship with her husband, totally another level. So that process of slowly, slowly is true when you don't have the tools to do it in another way. So I want to break that idea that it has to be slow. I agree with the process, but the speed can be different, just whatever. So if we get the same result in the end, right? You take whatever, 1 year, I take 1 session, and we get the same result, then I say, well, maybe we should look at that slowly, slowly again. That's just one point. So in my years of practice, for me, it was always looking at what do we need for the breakthrough? What is it that that person needs? And for me, it was like understanding. So going back to this person who has been sexually abused, being abused for years, going to all kinds of therapists, the simple thing I needed to do is to ask her one question. If you had created this, because in quantum we say you are the creator of all your experiences. If you had created this with the purpose of having a positive learning, of being powerful, why would you have created that? And that was the opening, because it was no longer guilt tripping of my parents did something to me, because that was the problem. It's done to me. Like you're saying, it's done for me. My wife's been saying that too for a long time. I still have to catch up with that. But so what we need to understand is that the moment she got the insight, I am the creator of this. Why did I create this? And that was the process. And then we were done in 5 minutes, because she took back, just like what you want, the responsibility, just another level of understanding. And it was not about forgiving the parents. It was being grateful for the parents. How great is it that you can see, oh, I created this so I can create this in my life. So that's another way to look at things. And in my world, there's nothing good or wrong in that sense. We all have the same intention to be of service to something bigger than ourselves. That's the only difference.
And then I have a question, because couldn't this also be a pitfall that you want to go faster, so you think you will feel better and happier when you make faster steps or you make a decision, and if you follow, well, let's polarize it, that if you follow your decision and your path and your advice, that you will be sooner on a better place. That could be a pitfall, I think.
Yeah, I like the theory. I just don't agree. So it depends on one thing, the level where you take the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have given up my free will to take decisions. I allow guidance to make the decision for me, which is the biggest ego fight in life, because I think I know better. Mm-hmm. I want to do it this way. So let me give you an example from my own life. I have this business, 25 people with the biggest personal development coaching company in Europe. And then above, they tell me, if you want to marry this woman and you want to be the father of this child, because she had a 2-year-old, you have to give up your business. Well, they didn't say sell your business. They say the key, throw it away. What do you think happens to your mind? You've been building it up for 7 years, you're finally growing, whatever, at a certain percent a year. It's a total eternal fight. It goes against anything you stand for. But I have to trust that there is a power that's smarter than me. And if you follow that path, doesn't mean that life will be easy, because you still have to learn your stuff. But the question you need to ask, what do you trust in your decision-making process? So Baptiste will say, trust your heart, follow that. You will say, step back, feel it, cherish that, and go through a process. So that's all right. And I would say, okay, connect to your higher self, ask your higher self. And if you're taught how to do that, it's instant. You see? So it's not a matter of this is better or that's better. It's just a different way to get finally to the same result. Mm-hmm. And let's put it this way. For me, it is not about if I go fast or not. I just want to be the best version of what I can be. And that happens to be fast. But the joy, if it's fast or slow, is the same. If I take something slow because I need to enjoy it. You understand? There's a certain process I don't want to do fast. If I have sex with my wife, I don't want to do it fast. I want to enjoy it. That's slow. So then you want to be there in presence. So for me, that's a different thing than some other stuff. So we don't have one rule for life. We have different sections in different ways. And in some ways, I think that the process that you do might be perfect for that person, because the person that appears on your path is the person that needs your wisdom on your path. Does it make sense? So in that there's also no coincidence. Mm-hmm. And so we're all doing the work in the best way we can until we learn another way to do it.
Okay. So gentlemen, last question, and then we will open it up for questions. At this stage of your career and life, what is most important to you? So first for you, Juriaan.
Well, my mission is to guide people and free them more from their conditioned beliefs, and so that they can become who they are meant to be, and they can give their preciousness to the world and give their value to the world, and not only to human, but also to animal and to nature and to our environment. And if I can be a guide for them, then I have a happy life.
Okay, yeah. And for you, Roy, at this stage of your career and life,
revolution.
Revolution? Revolution of what?
War.
Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah, exactly. No. So I've done in my life everything I wanted to do.
Yes.
I feel complete. I feel fulfilled. The only thing I've not succeeded is changing the system. Okay. So I'm going to bring all my resources in, find a lot of like-minded people, to really make that revolution on a big scale.
Yes, but I think you should not try to change the system. You should just build a new one.
It is not possible. You need to have because, okay, let's put it in the historic time that we're living. right? We're coming out. If you look at the planet, it's traveling to the how we call this, the cosmos, whatever, in a certain ellipse, and that's around 24,000 years. And each part of that system is broken down into 12 periods of 2,000 years. And each 2,000 years, we are bombarded with different cosmic rays. So we're entering now what's called the Aquarius Time. The Aquarius Time can only be entered if the old systems are broken down. What doesn't mean that we cannot start building a new system, but we need to break the economic system because it's corrupt, it doesn't function, it's against humanity. It is, let's say they created such a system that we become slaves of the system. All right?
That's done by design. I mean,
that's the design, and it's also in the education. Yes. So we have an economic problem, we have an education problem, we have a medical problem, and we have an energy problem. All those things together. So I'm putting all my resources in all those four. I'm training now. You train remote viewers. I'm training channelers, so that we can find solutions for this time. And one of the solutions is free energy. We need to find it now. Now is the time for free energy. We need to have a new education. Now is the time for a new education. We need a new medical system. Now is the time. Because that's the way we go into Aquarius. One of the things from quantum is that we can, just like with remote viewing, we can quantum jump to the timeline of our desires where that is already there. So the more people can dream the same dream, we together can create a new system. But I cannot do it by myself. So we need to get more people, and I know for sure that Dr. Juriaan is doing that as well, to dream that dream. It is possible, because we're now believing it's not possible.
So it's what Martin Luther King said. He didn't say, I have a vision. He said, I have a dream.
Yeah, that was my previous incarnation, but that's a different...
Is that your previous... So I'm sitting next to Martin Luther King, really? Wow.
At least that's what we got in hypnosis, but that doesn't mean anything. It's not that it does anything to me. I don't care. The point is having to dream is the beginning.
Okay.
If you go to the Mexican shamanism, they're saying what we think is reality, that's a dream.
Yes.
So let's create a new dream together.
Okay.
And the only way to do that is we cannot be these little ego islands anymore.
Yes.
There, we need to combine and put our hands together, stand together to create a revolution. He cannot do it by himself, I cannot do it by myself. But when we find more, then we stand strong. Okay. And, you know, I'm a dreamer, and I will die dreaming. So that's my purpose now.
Well, thank you so much, Roy. It was, again, a pleasure to be able to compare notes with you and to listen to you and learn from you. Juriaan, first time we meet. No, second time, actually, but first time we have a conversation. Thank you so much. I love your big heart, and it was a joy to be able to speak with you.
And I also want to add, it's a pleasure to meet you. Yes. It sounds a little bit strange. Don't take this out of context. It's like finding my younger self again.
Okay, wow, that's a big compliment. Okay, thank you so much.